What's up, everybody? We got another episode of Verbal Garbage coming at you hot and live. Another guest episode today. And today I'm joined by a very special guest. This gentleman and I worked together, what would you say, Bill, about 5 to 7 years ago at Sherwin-Williams together?
Yeah, wow. It was a while, yeah.
So we were covering the earth, selling 1 gallon of paint at a time. And then I moved down to Florida. We haven't really talked in 5, 6, 7 years. I shot him a text a couple weeks ago, and this is kind of our first time catching up in years. So Bill, if you don't mind telling the people a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you're doing from work, a little thing like that. What's up, buddy?
Hello, everybody. What's up, Frank? Long time no talk. Still with Sherwin-Williams.
Wow.
I was going to say sadly, and but still with them. Manager now.
Oh,
different store in New Jersey. Recently got married. Just got back from my honeymoon. Also brought back COVID. That was fun. So
now, where'd you go for your honeymoon, buddy?
Amsterdam, and it was the greatest time, not just for stoners, but just absolute blast too.
Because it's just so funny. Right when you and I were first talking, and you were saying you were getting ready to go out of the country, I was like, "Where are you going?" And you said Amsterdam. I was like, "Is there any more Bill Snow destination than Amsterdam?"
No, especially because also I'm not a big traveler, so
right. Is that your
if
first
there was
time?
going to get to go 8 hours on a flight or whatever, Amsterdam's a spot.
Was that your first time ever leaving the country?
No, I've been out of the country a few times. If you don't count the Caribbean, I've been to Ireland, but other than that, that's pretty much it. Yeah, other than maybe Mexico.
Wow.
Just on cruises.
What was that process like on deciding on a destination? Was it you guys kind of go back and forth? Was it pretty quick, mutually agreed upon?
So it's great. Well, my wife is a big traveler. She actually worked on cruise ships and stuff, taught in Korea, which I just dropped off at the airport. She was heading back to. Wow. So she being the opposite of me, being a big traveler and stuff, and her knowing my anxieties and issues with food and traveling and being comfortable, she essentially held my hand through the whole process. And I essentially let her choose as long as I had veto power, and she wouldn't choose anywhere at my stomach. She assured me pretty much anywhere we would go would have a McDonald's at worst case scenario. So I'm like, you know what? I can deal with that. Yeah.
Are you like me? I have no shame in saying it. I'm almost American to a fault where, you go to other countries, you're used to certain foods. We haven't talked in a while, but I've become infatuated by bidets, where.
Oh man, no, my wife actually is trying to get me to try it out. And
Bill,
definitely.
All right, sorry, but we're deviating already. I've contacted Hello Tushy 4 times about sponsoring the podcast already.
Oh
got
man,
4 or 5 of my friends to buy it. I was just having a horrible stomach attack. I put so much water up my butt. I think it's starting to come out my nose a little bit, but it's all good, dude.
Clean as a whistle, though.
Exactly. I'm like, the amount of times I've talked about bidets already on the show is, I would say it's borderline alarming. But what are your main drawbacks?
The fact that I would have to install it to try it out. That literally is if somebody was here, try mine. I just don't know anybody that has one. That literally is it. If I tried it, I'm sure it would be oh, I'm getting one now.
Yeah. It's just funny because a couple times I had a couple of my friends over at my house, whether we're just chilling for UFC or whatever the case may be. And the first thing I do is I bring them into the bathroom and show them the bidet. I got the 3 toilet paper holder, the flushable wipes, the sprays. I'm so awesome. The fact of, going to another country and just having a normal toilet without a little water sprayer to go up my little tailpipe.
Oh, you definitely get spoiled because you don't, especially in the US, rare to find.
And I'm
rare to find.
So that's all these little things have kind of culminated in the fact that I've been so nervous to travel outside the States. So I'm just wondering if I'm not going to say your first experience, but this is the first time you've gone with someone who's not a family member, correct?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And I mean, it's not that it's the food that gets me. I'm more than just American to a fault. I'm also picky. So I just have texture issues and then, my vomit phobia and stuff. So it all stacks up to me being very limited to what I'm willing to put in my mouth. So there are some surprises in Amsterdam, but nothing I couldn't get around. I mean, French fries are a staple. They might look at you funny when you only want ketchup as a condiment, but whatever.
Yeah. It's my trip, not yours, bitch.
Yeah, right.
So I don't know how well your memory, obviously when you're you have certain memories of you. And then when you meet someone like me, there's certain things that stuck out with me about you. So talking about food, I think it's apropos to bring up, when we worked at Sherwin-Williams together, do you remember your lunch situation every day?
What was I doing at the time? Was I PB&J in it still?
So if we're not mistaken, you told me at one point that I think at the beginning, on a Sunday, your mom would take a big giant loaf of white bread, make all the peanut butter and jellies, freeze them, and then each day you take one out, ejecting the VCR, returning it to Blockbuster, and you were doing that. And I remember one day you left the peanut butter jelly wrapped in tinfoil in the car, and you brought it in. You're like, well, it's a little soggy, but and you just took a bite and you just ate the whole thing.
Yeah, I'll still do it. It's so weird that like now seeing like Uncrustables and stuff, people used to like give me shit for eating like cold PB&Js. It's like they're fucking frozen now.
I know.
Like it's the
Trendsetter slash trailblazing.
That's me. That's always been me.
I don't know if you remember the staple was just the Mountain Dew and the peanut butter and jelly.
Dude, the Mountain Dew is still a staple.
Let's go. Are our teeth still in? Do we still have all our teeth? Wow, you're a success story, buddy. This is
wow.
We used to talk about that. Remember the meth mouth?
Oh, dude, luckily I don't deviate from weed, so I don't have the issue. Luckily.
Well, just so everybody knows who's listening, Bill just took his final last sip of the Mountain Dew. Bill, any chance that we can get another one chambered up for the listeners?
I was gonna say that's this Mountain Dew to be specific. 1 second.
All right, guys. So as he goes to retrieve another one, like I said, this is just an awesome opportunity for me. It's when you would sell paint back when I did, you'd usually have a lot of older managers and assistant managers that were looking over you. And I was working at 1 or 2 stores beforehand. And then when I went to this store, I had an awesome manager right away. I think we went through 1 or 2 assistant managers, and then Bill was placed in my store. And man, we had so much fun right away. Like we would have to do a lot of lead generation calls where we'd be cold calling painters to try to establish business. Bill would be in the office fluffing the fuck out of his 75 calls a day while I'd be out running the floor, making a mockery of the sales job and just having a good time. So any fond memories from your Sherwin-Williams days? You remember I would stand out front of the door and bark like a dog, and you tell your mom that? He sounds weird.
I'm cracking up telling her like he's the funniest kid in the world. My mom's just dead faced. He sounds weird.
And you told me that, and I remember I just smiled. I'm like, exactly, Mom.
Oh, dude, my memories of you are just karate kicking your way around with your big ass boots and your ponytail. Oh my God!
Oh my dude, I forgot right when I got the Walmart flexible jeans, and I'd be able to squat down.
That's when you're showing up, and then next thing you know, you would be doing stuff and just start roundhouse kicking, just air kicks. But dude, you would just come in stinky high too in the mornings, knowing your stomach. You'd have to come in, and it was just like, you know what? We're a little busy. Just Frank goes in the back. Just put stuff away. Come back up when you're comfortable.
Yes.
It was the best.
I mean, dude, between you, myself, and Jim was just such a laid back, cool manager that was already through the ringer. And he just let you and I would come in, I would DJ the music, we would unload the truck. And man, I remember a couple of times, like I've already reached out to Mike Holcomb, for those of you who don't know, who's a painter in the area and
still one of my customers.
He was born with all right, you're going to have to relay the message, tell him to answer my text, because I fucking texted him. I want him on here talking about paint stories.
Oh, definitely.
He was born with a defective, what was it? What's the proper term? Do you know?
I think he had a brain aneurysm.
So he had a brain aneurysm, and it left one of his hands deformed. So he would only really have technically one proper hand. And I would watch this guy paint. I mean, there was one night he came in and painted our whole store, and just an artist, man. Despite the challenges he was born with, the guy always overcame it, made the best of his situation. And
they're awesome.
Do you still talk to Nick at all?
Both. They still work together. Wow. Still great customers, actually. Yeah.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah, if you don't mind,
really well.
I'm not trying to plug myself at all, but I've also talked to Mike a couple times. Tell him to please listen and start getting in touch.
Oh, no, definitely. That's what I'm definitely going to tell him about it, dude.
Because I can tell the whole story. Too. I don't know if you remember, but him and Nick agreed to paint the store one night, and then Jim's like, all right, you just stay with him and watch it. And I was like, okay, no problem. I thought it was going to be till 7 or 8 o'clock. They were there till 11:30 talking about ordering pizza. I'm like, get the fuck out of here. We're done.
Dude, they are the best.
So talk about the rise in ranks. You started with Sherwin-Williams. You went through that assistant manager training program?
Yeah, correct? So MTP training, then got placed as an assistant manager at Cherry Hill. Then
baby.
Transferred, or no, actually trained in Cherry Hill, then got placed into the Mount Holly store with Jim. Manager and assistant manager before us got fired for almost getting in a fight.
Wow, I forgot about all that. Oh my!
And then you came over, and it was perfect,
dude. I was just gonna say, you getting placed there was honestly one of the best, because I was just telling people when you went away, every day I would drive to work and see that little black Prius, the biggest smile would come on my face, and I would just
got it.
I really?
Oh yeah, paid off finally. Go. It's got so many miles on it from driving around and smoking and stuff.
You literally just have to have that die with a Mountain Dew and a fucking something else in there. A little
At this point, especially with gas prices, man, it's like,
what's your commute to work these days? Pretty long, or is it not too bad?
Yeah, moved up to Bordentown, so I mean, got our own place, so much different, which is awesome. So it's 25-ish minutes, but
not bad.
Not as close, but I mean, it's 2 roads, so simple.
What's that adjustment like? Going from a single crazy wild bachelor to a married man now? I know it hasn't been super long, but what's that whole phase been like for you?
I mean, we got lucky. We met before COVID and everything, so still living with my parents, and she, my now wife, luckily was in a spot that she had no problem just coming over, hanging out. Look, my parents are cool and everything, and would go away kind of often. So we met on Tinder and hit it off. She was actually supposed to go back to Korea, so we knew it wasn't going to be long term at first, and then just worked out where she's just like, "Yeah, I'm not going." I'm like, "Oh, deal." And then with COVID and everything, we essentially got shut in. I proposed before that, so like we were planning everything, and then COVID postponed everything, and so that was our honeymoon. Essentially, we were originally going to do a cruise, and then that just never really. We had to keep pushing back, and she's like, "You know what? Why don't we just go to Amsterdam?" I'm like, "Hold on." And she's like, "All right, we can golf over there." I'm like, "Fuck yeah." So we went over, and then I was the one that like, "I'm too tired. Do you want to just keep sleeping?" And we didn't golf, but still an amazing time.
Now, is she into golf? I know since I've known you, you played golf in college. You're a big time golfer. Is that something you got her into, or is she golfing prior to knowing you? Or
not golfing prior to knowing me, but definitely goes out and has a good time. She's won't go out and practice unless like it's just to hang out with me or anything like that. So it's it's more for just hanging out, and she'll pick the ball up if she's like, I've had enough for this hole, and then she'll just drop it on the next hole. It's no problem.
Are there any activities that are reciprocated on her end, that she likes, that she got you into, that you're able to stomach for a little bit? Or
I mean, traveling is probably one of her big things. We definitely do hikes and stuff. Other than that, I mean, a lot of TV shows and stuff that she's got me into.
Bro, I'm such a TV nut. So that's in future episodes we'll have to talk about.
Absolutely.
Is there anything recently that you've been into that sticks out? I mean, I watched so much. So
I mean, obviously with just finished Stranger Things, like Obi-Wan.
What'd you think of Stranger Things, bro? Spoiler alert warning for everybody who hasn't.
I mean, yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, I'm intrigued to hear your perspective because I haven't really even talked to anybody about it yet.
Well, like when I was first started doing this podcast, I was doing it with a co-host, and he was a little upset with the mid-season. You know how they did like the half-season finale, and he was just saying it was all kind of a build-up. And I was like, I kind of pushed back. I'm like, well, yeah, no shit, it's a build-up because they want to really build suspense for the last two. But then when I got done with the last two, I was just a little. I'm not gonna say disappointed or anything, but they hyped up so much of we're killing this person off, we're doing this, we're doing that. And I just felt like, don't get me wrong, the last two episodes were really enjoyable, but I just felt like it was just more of a build-up for the last season.
And well, that's my thing is I found out like right before the second release that there's going to be another season. So it's like, it's not going to, it's not really over.
Right, exactly.
It's like finishing like a Mario game and all of a sudden like the end ? You're like, wait a second.
It's such a good parallel. Because like I said, we don't even necessarily need to spoil anything's talking about it, but just I think there was one person that for sure died, one of the mainish characters, and then someone else who's like in limbo mode right now going into the final season. So I just thought that was a little bit anticlimactic as far as, I know you're a big Game of Thrones fan, and I'm not requesting necessarily that kind of style where you're just killing off everyone mercilessly, but give us a little bit more,
I wonder if they're going to go nuts.
What's that?
Do they really go nuts in the last season?
Yeah. But it's like, what's the show going to end up? You just kill off, like, I'm curious to see. It's definitely built up some anticipation on my end, but I just was left a little lukewarm after it ended, to be honest.
I enjoyed it. I liked at least how they didn't stretch that out to being like 4 or 5 more episodes. They just did like 2 movies essentially.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I like that part of it. But if we're going a little bit more obscure stuff, definitely into like Letterkenny and stuff like that.
Okay,
I don't know if you've ever seen that one.
I've never checked that out, but I've heard.
Oh, that one's fantastic. Hockey comedy.
Hockey. All right.
Yeah, Canadian one.
I'm out. Actually, you watched Shameless back in the day, right?
I actually didn't. I never did.
Okay, so you don't necessarily need to watch that, but on my last solo episode, I just talked about that show, The Bear, on FX. It just came out.
I seen things on like probably on Hulu or whatever, like
Dude,
promoting
it's
it.
on
I just haven't seen what
Hulu.
it's about.
And like when I moved down to Florida, I worked in restaurants for about 2 to 3 years. You don't necessarily need to work in a restaurant, but it's really good acting. It's really good like back of the house, behind the scenes type of stuff. And essentially it's just a culinary chef who's classically trained, but he's got a family inheritance of like a beef restaurant, so he's taken from it and comes in and tries to transform that without disrupting the culture too much. So it was really
That's
interesting.
pretty cool.
So I think you might enjoy that. And I've been trying to get a lot
I'm
of people
definitely
to
in,
listen to
especially
that,
if it's well done. Yeah. Fuck yeah, man.
yeah, so the shows is something like, I don't know what it is with me, but I'll watch so many different shows, so many different podcasts, read books, and I forget, like, my retention with these things is so poor. Do you find yourself struggling with that problem at all, or do you?
Oh, I don't remember much at all. Like,
Because I'll
my
bring
wife,
up a show to you, right? I'll be like, Bill, you watch Sopranos? And you'll be like, hey, yeah, episode 2. And I'm like, what? And it's like so many conversations I fucking sabotage by bringing them up and then not knowing what I'm talking about.
I would have to rely on the other person to do it, like to ask me about it. And then I can definitely bounce back and forth with it if they spark stuff up, but without seeing like pictures of it and stuff,
it's tough.
It's like, yeah. I would have to have just watched it to be like, go into detail about stuff.
Yeah, that's the same way. I mean, it's frustrating because like I watch these shows. I'm the type, like I sit there, I'm quiet. I have the subtitles on. Like I'm really absorbing it. I don't look away. I'm not on my phone. But then like you watch 4 or 5 episodes, you're like, what the fuck just happened? And then season 2 versus season 4, what, you know what I mean?
We actually got fucked up. I think it was actually watching Stranger Things that there was like the recap from like the first part or something. And I was trying to pause it and accidentally skipped it. There was no way to rewatch it. And it was just like, we started getting into it and we had to pause like a few minutes in and be like, actually had to look it up on YouTube to watch Google the recap just to be like, what happened? This started so much with so much shit going on. It's like, I forgot they were there.
Yep.
Okay, let me just rewatch this.
It's so necessary. Sometimes if the shows don't do the previously on, like it really fucks you up, and you need that recap. You know, what I mean?
Especially, definitely season to season for sure.
Oh, and their COVID layoff. I think it was like
so many different
3 years or something between shows. So it was wild. Something I'm not trying to incriminate you by any means, but something that I feel like needs, and now it's legal in your home state. So the marijuana tales, right? So yes. When we worked together, I've never met anyone quite like your breed. Okay. So I'm the type, right? I would get an ounce of weed, smoke it out of my bong, have it last 2 to 3 weeks. My boy, Billy, guys, he would get an ounce and he would like, I remember we'd be working together and be like, all right, I'm going home Friday night and I'm rolling an ounce worth of blunts. And I'm like, how many blunts are you getting out of that? Because this guy, just so you know, he used to roll
pencils,
literally pencils. And like, I remember one time he gave me one to take to a music festival. And I smoked it. I just got the worst headache in the world. I'm like, dude, there was no weed in these things.
It's nicotine.
So I was curious about. Oh, I just put a big piece of spit in my microphone. It's nice and wet. I can see it. Oh yeah, I'm getting excited. So tell me about that. Was that like a mind trick almost, that you're just constantly being able to smoke and not necessarily being high, or like, because you were on the golf course doing it, right? I mean, just
it's a lot of different stuff. So yeah. So I mean, it was probably had to be like close to 100 if I was really like trying to
just for the listeners, like my sister, my straight edge sister, 1 ounce of weed is 28 grams. I would say normal people, not normal, but
yeah.
I mean, I'm not normal.
This is not normal.
What does normal mean? What would you estimate? 20, maybe 20 blunts out of an ounce?
A normal person?
Yes.
Oh,
a non-snowman?
I mean, you can buy joints now if they're 1 gram. It's like, it's not like gigantic by any means. So yeah, so easily get 20.
So, and just to give you an idea, Bill's getting 80 more out of that yield.
Oh yeah. So I'm turning 1 normal blunt into roughly 5. that's really it. And like I said, really just smoke slower.
Okay, because slower and just and I didn't realize being able to do it.
I also didn't realize without the nicotine, I would just be falling asleep. So it's almost like it's a feeding cycle where I have to then keep doing it. And then not realizing I'm getting like addicted to nicotine. So it's like, now it's also an itch where it's just like, what make this more fun? It's past what make this more fun. It's like, what make me feel better? It's like getting the caffeine headache. Like, just a little sip of soda.
As he takes another swig of the Mountain Dew. Let's go, baby.
Comedic timing, Frankie.
So we gotta bring up the brother. You would constantly be doing, the rolling of the blunts, the smoking of the blunts, the driving around of the blunts with the brother of yours. Now,
oh wow,
can you please, if you don't mind, shed a little light on how you and your brother would be able to covertly smoke these blunts in the vehicle, if you don't mind?
Oh, how we did it in the vehicle, or how
If
we
you
would get
remember
away,
if you're catching my little drift.
or how we would get away with it.
Yes.
All right. So, at this time, this is when we had both recently moved back home.
Correct.
For the record, he quit smoking kind of, well, after the arrest. Spoiler alert. So, so we used to drive around. We had to like wait for my parents to go out to dinner. So they would go out to dinner, be leaving, and it's like we would just essentially just go out for a little car ride, get back, and then after a while, it's like, how many can you sneak in if your parents are out for hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, depending how far they're going.
Oh.
So it's just like, all right, well, how do you know if you're gonna be safe? How do you know that you're not gonna get home stinky high and have your parents sit back from dinner like, where were you?
Yep.
So we figured out we would figure out I forgot about that. So we figured out that we get ice cream. We figured out that we knew my parents or my mom's
Apple ID,
her iPhone, her iCloud login, so you could track my phone. So essentially, we would watch them driving home to try and beat them, and we occasionally had the moment. Do you watch Umbrella Academy?
I haven't yet, but I've heard.
Oh, it's amazing.
Things, so
There's the one meme where the two people just drive past each other and they're like, like they see each other. We did that with my parents a few times. It was like, oh man.
Normally, like me and my friends, we go on blunt rides or whatever, bong rides, and we're sitting there, we're blasting music, smoking around. I just picture you and your brother just having the phone mounted with the tracking, just smoking blunts.
I'm driving and he's tracking. That's why I needed the accomplice.
Now, are we able to delve into the famed arrest story?
Oh, definitely.
And then the Facebook status after.
Oh, where they
the police department like
they actually put it out there. Oh, that's how my cousin found out. Yeah, that was fun. So the stupidest thing is
I'm laughing too hard.
The stupidest thing is we just went to Acme. Like it was intermission of a Flyers game, and we're just gonna have to get snacks. So we would go out and smoke. At this point, my parents knew because we'll go to that too. We used to tell them that we would just go out for ice cream. And every night we got for ice cream. We got to the point where my mom comes, she's like, you don't have to say you're going for ice cream. We're not stupid. And it's like, oh, okay. So eventually it's like we would just be like, all right, we're gonna run to the store and then smoke on the way back. Like, do you need anything? So literally we go out, we're just going the intermission and
first or second intermission.
Second intermission. Second intermission. So
perfect time.
We're leaving. So maybe it's probably 8:30, 9 o'clock. So we leave, pulling out of the grocery store, and next thing you know, I notice cops on our behind me. So I saw my brother like, don't light up. Like we got the windows down already. We're ready to fire up. Like just wait.
So you have not lit up yet.
Have not lit up. Like he'll go straight. We'll go left. This will be perfect. So go left. He follows us, and the lights come on. It's like, oh shit. So we just start just tossing down by the side. Quick,
were you tracking mom while he was following you?
I don't know. My parents are home. They knew at this point. Okay. So this is where it gets even better. So so obviously he comes up, he asks us like, what do we had just gotten like the best stuff too. So even without smoking, it was super skunk.
That Jersey weed though.
So he just knew. So he's like, before I do anything, like, do you have anything in the car? I'm like, nope. And he's like, I'm gonna have to do my job. So I'm gonna ask you again. Is there anything I should know about in the car? I'm like, well, yep. So we essentially point to everything. They put us off on the curb. They search. Like 18 cops show up.
Oh my, that's so Jersey.
One of them has like a canine, and at that point, luckily, they just told him like, just we've got enough people here. They're cooperating. We got under control.
Wait till you guys see how little amount of weed is in his blunts.
Yeah. Well, the worst part is they weigh it. They weigh the blunt count. That's paraphernalia. So even the way I roll it makes it count for just more weight. Fucking stupid. Luckily, we didn't have enough that it would count for more than what it was. But yeah, so we get there. So get arrested, get taken to the police station. It is.
Are you and your brother
300 yards from where my car was?
There?
Huh?
Are you and your brother like real tense? Are you mad at each other? Is anyone shouldering?
It's just you're in trouble at that point. Yeah. You fucked up. I mean, at this point we live at home.
Yeah.
So it's this point, like my parents were like, "Where the fuck were you?"
Yep.
So we go to the police station, and the cop kind of tries to be kind of cool, and eventually it's just like, "Well, I can't drive you back to your car, but you're free to go." And he goes, "Do you know where you guys are parked?" And I'm like, "No." My brother goes, "Yep," and we walk out. So I'm like, "Okay." I'm like, "Do you know where yours?" "No, but I got my phone." So luckily we were like 200 yards from the car and didn't realize it. Just had to like go around to the parking lot.
Well, you were just in a state of panic and shock, I imagine. Right?
Don't know what to do. So
Yeah.
we just get in the car and drive home. At this point, expecting parents to be like, where were you?
It's a long ice cream trip.
We walk right upstairs and they say goodnight. Like, said nothing. Didn't
out of
realize
all the nights to not stop you guys, right?
Just completely forgot that we had left an hour and a half, 2 hours beforehand and had just gotten back.
They must have been watching Harry Potter.
It's like, well, either they're like probably fell asleep thinking we'd come back and gone out again.
Yeah.
Just to smoke again or something like that. But so it was like rough. So next thing you know, like my brother's panicking, trying to figure out, like, do we tell him? A few days go by. Mail starts coming in for lawyers. And at this point, I also still don't know, what do I do with work?
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know. So it's like,
you're going through the training program, right? You're freshly.
I'm not only that, assistant manager on a pretty decent trajectory.
Yeah.
So
sure.
I actually had the district manager. Do you remember Dan?
Oh yeah.
Was like essentially like trying to tap me to take the store that I'm actually now the manager at.
Oh, nice.
Across the street. So at that point, he kept coming in and being like, "Hey, like, what are you thinking?" And I'm like, "Well, I would love to, but I don't think so."
Marie's rat farm.
But yeah, I kept just coming up with excuses because I knew they do a background check in between, and I hadn't told him yet. So at this point, I hadn't had my court date. So I've just been arrested. So it's not like settled. So I can be like, I gotta tell him, like, here's what I got arrested for.
Yeah.
I'll let you know how it goes.
Right.
So essentially he keeps coming back and forth with me, and every excuse I come up with, he's like, yeah, but swims past it, like, has a perfect, I'll take care of it. What else? I was like, oh man.
He knew he had a hot prospect on his hands, Billy.
I show up one day and I see Dan's car's there, and so is Jim's, and I walk in and Jim's just, I had to tell Jim too, because at this point Jim was starting to sweat a little bit from Dan coming in. He's like, I don't want to have to compete against you. And I had to straight tell him, I'm like, Jim, I can't go. Yeah. And here's why. And he actually laughed and goes, huh, I guess you can't. And then immediately he was like, oh man, that sucks.
Oh my God.
And of course, like, feels bad, like goes, talks to his wife, like comes back and is like, obviously, like, we're here to support you, whatever, like, you're gonna be okay. So between that, Dan's sitting in the office when I walk in. Jim knows, obviously,
like your 11 a.m. shift.
Jim knows the situation I'm in, and knows that Dan keeps bothering me about it. Right. So I come in and he's like, somebody's waiting for you in the office. I'm like, so this is where he starts going into moving everything out of the way, moving mountains to get me into that store. And I'm just like, between you and me, I can't do it. Yeah. And he's like, what? And I have to just tell him, like, you just can't say anything, but yeah, here's what happened. I tell him everything and he goes, all right, well, obviously I need to tell HR and loss prevention.
I mean, it's not fucking heroin, guys. Like, this shit drives me crazy.
It's legal now. So
I know it just ruined my life for a few years. So badly,
But so literally he goes out to his car, is out there for probably 20 minutes. I come out of the office, Jim's like, everything all right? I'm like, I don't know.
Make some lead gen calls.
No idea at the time. So Dan leaves, pulls away, he's gone for about an hour, calls and goes, all right, here's the deal. Talk to everybody. And they said, as long as everything you've told me is true, write it in an email, send it to us. They'll then do the background check. And if everything matches up, I might be like not able to apply for anything for 6 months, but I'll keep my job.
So just making sure you're not fabricating or leaving anything out.
Right. Well, their big thing was actually making sure I wasn't selling. No intent to distribute or anything like that.
Pencil joints for sale.
Yeah, I am a great businessman.
Yeah.
Just thinning out the product. So yeah, man, that was the journey. And then eventually got the opportunity to get manager spot down in Woodbury after my probationary time, I guess, was over. And then just that drive was killing me from still living with my parents in Medford. So
you put in like a transfer request?
Once the other store opened back up, the store across the street from the store we worked at, I jumped on that.
Oh, so that's where you're at.
Also, yeah, they remodeled it, and that was cool. So I took it over, and then
when you go there tomorrow or something, send me a few pictures aloud. I'm just curious to see how different it looks.
Oh, definitely. Oh, they fully redid the inside. We grinded up the floor, polished it.
Oh,
it's polished concrete.
For those of you, and that's everybody who don't know, Bill and I worked at a store, and there was literally another Sherwin-Williams directly across from us. and they had a very entertaining staff, to say the least. It was a bunch of hodgepodges. They had one girl there, middle-aged housewife named Marie, and she was notorious for like calling us and venting to us about like all her Sherwin-Williams problems. And like, she would come in there and the store was infested with mice, and she would just call me like, hey, there's a couple mice crawling around. I'm like, okay, can you come kill them? Like, Marie, I'm fucking more scared of mice than you. You're like hoarding them in your purse. What are you calling me for?
She would feed squirrels, and she would wonder why she was mice. It's like, you can't pick and choose, Marie.
And I remember we were calling it like Marie's Mouse Farm and shit. Like,
oh, I took it over.
I just remember like you and I worked with the gentleman at one point. And I'm not like making fun of him, but we had a guy named Tom who was like a pretty lonely older man who was infatuated by his cats, and we called him Tomcat.
Every time he's recently like popped up in my phone, like trying to send a text to somebody else, and I see the name and I'm just like, nope. No.
Is it Tomcat?
No. Man. Luckily, no. Oh, dude, I forgot about Tom.
Do you remember? Like, I feel so bad. I'm not trashing him. I'm just, these are the stories that this is literally why I started a podcast, because of things like this that I can talk about. Like, this guy would come in and he would only order Pizza Hut every day just to be able to earn the full circle, to be able to get a free pizza at the end of the week.
It's the type of guy where you're just like, oh, I hope that's not me. Like, you
don't. Oh, literally. And I'm like, is this going to be me in 10 years? I don't like cats, so I'm on a good trajectory, but
Break cat.
Who knows what the future has in hold? Just so you know, on your screen, do you see the remaining time, bud? 4:26?
I see it, yeah. It'll just cut out, won't it?
Yeah, and I hate getting cut off, so we'll do like one more little thing each, and then I'll do an outro, and just because I don't like doing a little outro. And you know, this is something I've been mulling over for the past month or two, is when do I get to the point to upgrade to Zoom Pro? And I think I'm getting kind of ready, because the first couple episodes, you know, I was super nervous, jittery, and now it's just like, it's nothing.
The flow is easy.
You know, and especially someone like you, like, it's funny because I was going on Reddit, you know, like podcasts for information stuff, and then they have this thing like seeking guest. So I started looking at that because, you know, just naturally with a lot of the friends that you have, things come up, schedule. Like, I was trying to do just Monday night and Friday night. So now I'm literally going on Reddit, like after you, I'm going to be interviewing a 20-year-old musician from London who's got an album coming out.
That's awesome.
So like, I'm just going to do stuff like that. And I'm like, you and I, like, we have so many good memories there where I consider you a pretty good friend, even though we haven't talked in a while. Like, this is like butter to me. And I'm like, whenever there's an awkward pause or I might not have something to talk about, I can refer to an old story. Whereas like people like the next guest, I'm not going to have that luxury. So it just makes me be a little more quick on my feet and try to not let those awkward pauses happen. So
absolutely.
I mean, is this something that you've enjoyed? Is this something you'd possibly do in the future? Because I know, man, there's just
dude, there's so much. We jumped around so much that there is so much detail to all of them. You talk about the mice in the store. I recently had a raccoon. Groundhog
in the store.
I have video of it. Oh yeah.
Now, what do you remember? Like when we had the fucking little mouse in our store, I like jumped on the fucking top of the counter and just used the paint extension pole to Purdy, the 18-inch Purdy. What did you do? You have any devices that were handy?
Since then, I have had groundhog. I've had 3 or 4 snakes. I believe it's the same snake every time. It's a gardener snake. It's like 2 or 3 feet.
It slithers on.
It's wild. But the groundhog was the worst because we don't know how long it was in there. But there was no way for it to come in other than the garage door in the back. So it had to come in when we were doing the Star Order one day, and I found it on the weekend. So the garage door wasn't open, you know, for like 2 or 3 days before that. Like, how long was it in the store with us, and we didn't know it?
Wow.
Next thing you know, I sat still for long enough, and I just hear it start chomping on the garage door, and I finally I was so convinced. I'm like, I definitely heard something. I stood still long enough, and finally caught it just walk out and start chewing on the garage door. Got video of it.
What did you was the door already open, or you opened the door to try to force its way out?
We did, and then luckily my assistant manager, absolute hero, just went to town. I blocked off the other door so it couldn't really run anywhere. We tried to get it out, and it jumped over these boxes into the back room.
Wow.
That took a while to get around because it just chomped at everything. It didn't want to leave, like it just kept going under pallets.
Yeah.
And it didn't want to go out, and eventually we did get it out. But man,
do you guys have any customers in the store at that moment, or was it just you two?
It just chomps at you. No, the customers would come in and out. Like it was there for multiple days, but I mean, like the same day we found it, we also thought we got it out, and then like a day later, we realized it didn't leave. Like we didn't actually see it leave, so we were like, we're pretty sure we had the door open. We thought we scared it out.
That's like the kind of thing, like you see a spider in your room at night, and then the spider disappears. It's like, Okay, so can I sleep in my room tonight or no? Because you
Now
don't know if
there.
it's exactly like how do I know it's there or how do I know it's vanished?
Trust me, I know we got it out, and now I'm terrified that I have another one in there and I just don't know it.
Yeah, who's to say he didn't reproduce? He could have had, nowadays with this world, this groundhog could have been genetically modified to have both organisms intact and perhaps started a new spawn of his own. So yeah, like I said, we're under the minute here, Bill. So I just want to take this time to thank you so much for coming on. We had a couple scheduling issues and just so grateful for you. Any last words, buddy?
Dude, my pleasure, man. Absolutely fun. We got to do this again. We got way more to catch up on.
Oh, dude, there's no doubt about it. So I'll be way more in touch now, and we'll schedule something soon, buddy. Thank you.
You got it, buddy. Anytime. Have a good one.
Thank you guys for listening. Take care. Bill, you're the man, dude. Thank you so much.
You're the best, buddy. Awesome. Have a good one.
Talk to you soon.